Welcome back. In that last video I noticed that new lens, the micro lens, was blurry. It wouldn't focus past 12 or so inches out. So we're back to the stock lens, the factory lens, the GoPro, whatever lens. I will swap in between if I need the close-up shots. It's easy enough just to twist a macro lens on and give you a close-up shot of stuff we are working on, if need be, like I said. So, anyhow, the mic seems to be working well. It's one of those Rode wireless mics. I noticed, like all of us, we watch a lot of YouTube videos. I noticed A-Bomb 79, 78, 79 was using the Rode mic and seemed to be having good luck with it around machines and things making a lot of noise in his shop. It was always easy to hear him. It was clear and seemed to work well, so I went that way. And I noticed the same, at least on the first video, that it sounds very clear and works well. So we'll continue on with that and keep learning with everything else. Today we have a bread knife. This is one of our Stihl chainsaws. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, without bumping you. Rusty in there. The oiler, bar oiler, isn't working on this saw. Oh, also, if you noticed, the rakers are gone on this saw. Rakers have been ground off. That is because this saw gets used for sawing ice in the winter time, which that is what it is now. So we're using this saw. Yeah, like I said, the oiler is not doing what the oiler is supposed to do. So we have to get the bar off, get inside of here. I changed this oiler once in this saw many years ago. There is a ton of hours on this saw. I don't even know. This saw has cut miles and miles and miles of ice in its lifetime. Never had to rebuild it as far as piston, ring, or jug or anything. Only thing I've had to do on this saw was maintenance. This is, I don't know, this is probably like the 5th bar that we've had on this saw. We've got other bars. I think our longest bar is 36 inches. And ice is obviously like 3 feet thick or so. Otherwise, yeah, I replaced the oiler once on this saw and just basic maintenance. Spark plug now and then. I don't think oh yes, I cleaned the carburetor one time on this saw. From sitting over summer. It got gummed up like small engine carburetors do nowadays with the awesome ethanol gas that we have. So let's get on it. I should have... we'll get to that later. Let's get this saw apart. So we pull these nuts off for... Oh, this doesn't fit very well. That's pretty egged out. Oh, that's tight. Doesn't have to be that tight, but monkey's hanging on a wrench. Oh yes, I did replace the clutches in here, I think twice over its life. Put this off on the side. And Torx. Stihl uses lots of Torx fasteners. Let's get our torque spit set. Craftsman, Craftsman. Smell gas. Yep. This Craftsman set, I got it because obviously it has basically everything in here. It's handy. Even the Torx with the safety pins or anti-tamper, theft, whatever pins. It even has these, which I don't actually even know what these are called. It's a flathead. It's almost two little tang drives, kind of like a mini spanner-ish. But anyhow, this set, first thing I was using out of here is the square bit drives. And I was instantly let down and disappointed. Hopefully you can see that. Rounded off square drive. And I swear I only used this one for like 5 screws. Not even big screws. I was driving like 3.5-inch screws. I was doing some framing for the house. Rounded it off. Rounded off a second one. And you see there's also 2 more missing, which, who knows, maybe I just threw those away. So out of the 4 S2 square 2 drives, I went through all 4 of them in one small framing project for a couple of bedrooms in my basement. That was quite disappointing. It's not the Craftsman, as far as Craftsman quality goes, it's not the Craftsman quality I remember. But like I said, it has everything in here, so hopefully you get to drive at least every fastener twice with every one of these bits when I need them. That's the hopes anyhow. So there's that. Let's see. We're gonna be, what, I should just, how much gas is in here? Quite a bit. Let's drain this gas out of here. The good gas cans before they were redesigned by our lovely leaders. I have a bunch of these gas cans like this. I get them when I see them at garage sales. Even if the can is junk, as long as it comes with that snout. This is my 50-to-1 gas can, obviously. That just has 50-to-1 on it. I have the mixture all figured out, written down right on the can, so there's no confusing it. I use this mixture for all of my small engines. Leaf blowers, obviously the chainsaws. I used to be a big believer in running brand name oils. Like for our Stihls, we'd only run Stihl oil. All of them. Slowly over the years, I've gotten away from that. And I've been running pretty much whatever I was able to find. Even as far as running Walmart oils. The Techron, or what is it called? Walmart brand, whatever the hell it is. I've been running their oils. And I haven't had a problem yet with any of my saws as far as lubrication wise. I just dropped that right down into the abyss. There it goes. And likewise, it's not good, especially for small high performance engines like some of these chainsaws. You are supposed to run, well, it used to be called high test or high octane fuels, 91 or better octane. I have for quite a few years now have been running 87 octane in everything. Outboard motors, small engines, pretty much everything gets the same fuel. I what I've been noticing is the higher test fuels sit around in the gas pumps. I gotta get that screwed. Oh, maybe this will work. The higher test fuels sit around in the gas pumps at the stations for a very long time. Not a lot of people use them. Use the high tester, high octane fuels. So they sit. So even when you get it, you think you're getting fresh fuel. That fuel is already old, coming out of the pump. And it causes hard starting, running problems with all motors. And weirdly, I have noticed the higher octane fuels seem to trap water or go bad faster than the 87, the low octane fuels. The low octane fuels, obviously everybody is running that. That is fresh constantly, all the time. And again, like I said, as long as I've been running it, I have not had a problem yet with any of our engines. Small engines, bigger engines, outboards, any of them. Luckily. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting lucky. Who knows? What's next here? I'm pretty sure I gotta pull the clutches, but I know the oil comes out of here. So I think we're gonna have to pull all this junk out. How does that even come out of there? This is the adjuster. Hopefully you guys can see this. This is the adjuster for adjusting how far the bar goes in and out and adjusts the chain tension on the saw. Let's see if I can get this out. It's been a long, long time since I had this apart. There we go. And you can see how that works. There's a little worm drive and the gears in here yet on that screw. Put this off on the side. When I pull apart and I put it on the side, I always put the fasteners that it came out with either back in the same holes or on the part itself and put it off to the side. That way when you're putting it back together, all the fasteners for every part you're putting back together are there with the part. Likewise, when I'm pulling stuff apart, I'll lay it out in a row across the bench or on the side. Starting from where I start with, whatever part comes off first, I lay that down first. The next part that comes off goes next to that and then continues down the row. When you're reassembling, you just start at the end of the row and assemble in reverse order, and everything should go back together and things shouldn't be forgotten and should go together in the right order. There's the helical gear that drives that worm. I don't think that whole plate comes off. I think the oiler, because it has to be driven by the crank, I believe should be behind this clutch. So we're going to have to get this clutch off. And there's a hex drive on here. And see, it goes that way, so it gets tightened It's got to be reverse thread. Yeah, 18 millimeters, very close, but it doesn't quite go on there. Weird. That's not too bad, but a little sloppier than what I like. That's 3/4. That should be good enough to drive that off. So, boy, that should be. I want to see what a 19 feels like. 19 feels like a 3/4. 3/4. Slightly tighter. Man, that should be an 18. Is there a burr on here? Oh, it feels nice and sharp. Yeah, we'll go with that. Make sure the saw is off. Oh, reverse thread. Don't forget. Easy peasy. There we go. Clutches. They look pretty good yet too. Then we have a washer. Also too, when I put the parts on the side, I always lay them how they come off. I'll lay them down in the same orientation. And yeah, here's the oil drive. Let me clean this up and we'll come back, see what the hell's going on around here. Okay, we got it cleaned up. This does get driven, and it gets driven by this little tiny notch in the clutch hub. And this is getting pretty worn as well. You see the teeth. Got some pretty good wear for the chain rides. Plus, there's a lip on this inside where the clutch is engaged to this drum. This is getting pretty worn. It's not broke out where it drives that oil pump. So I don't think that is a problem. I still believe it's this plastic gear. I know this is what I replaced last time I had problems with the oil pump. And I think what happens, we're going to find out here in a minute. You can see this is threaded. When this goes around, this is what drives the oil pump gear inside of here. I think because it's plastic, that gear gets wore out and comes apart. Well, it gets wore out and it doesn't drive the gear anymore. And it looks like that should just come out of there if I... Oh yeah, yep. Oh, it's not. That's not a good sign. Oh wait. Well, there's a little chip there. It's not horrible. See, I can see if you guys can see. There is still thread there, but you can see there's like a bad spot right here. The thread is chipped away. It's still there, but it's folded over and worn. The rest of it is good. That's a perfect thread all the way around, except for this one spot. If it was still going around, I would think it would drive that oil pump gear. But it's not, I mean, even though it's worn and these threads are folded over a little bit and have a burr here, it's still good on the rest of the gear. That should have been driving that oil pump. The oil pump gear inside of here is metal. And that turns freely. Oh, there's a little piece in there. I wonder if that jammed it up. It's a little piece of that plastic. From that gear up in that metal oil pump gear. I wonder if that was enough that it jammed it up, and it seems to turn fine. It looks like only a couple of bolts, and I should be able to pull this oil pump housing out. And we can see what's going on inside of there, and it should be pulled out and cleaned since we're this far. We don't want to come back to this. Does that seem? Yeah, same drive. Same T27. Actually, I wonder if that's a 30 and I'm just getting by with the 27. Nope, 27. We'll pull these bolts out. See if this oil pump comes out nicely. I've never had this out. Like I said, in the time I repaired this, I just replaced the plastic gear because it was totally stripped out, and it was fine since then for quite a few years. It moves. Let's see, where's my pick? Not coming out nicely though. Something else is holding this. There is a screw from the bottom here. There's a hole down through the bottom of the saw right here. It comes up to, I don't know if you can see it, there's a screw right here for, I don't know if that's an adjustment for something, or if that's for pulling something out. I do notice this is loose as well. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that. There's this little plastic butt in the back of this oil pump. It's just flopping around in there. I don't know. I took those two bolts out. I don't see any other fasteners. The only thing is this tube right here. Goes up, and then that's what feeds the bar up here. But I would think that would just pull right out of there. I don't see no fasteners and no other way to get that out. There's that little plastic piece that come out of the back end. I don't know. There's a little bit of crud in there. Doesn't really look broken. Nothing wrong with it. Just sits in there. I wonder if it holds a spring or something, and we'll put that up on the side here. So oil pump is loose, but I don't know. I wonder if I have to get this safety out of the way. How does that come out? There's a little Torx on the bottom. And it's going to fly out and hit me in the face. I just know it. Starting to wiggle. Starting to come a little bit. Just expecting to come flying out of here and right square in the face. There we go. And they're off of there. That's bent right there. I don't think it's supposed to be like that, but I don't know. We'll worry about that when we put it back together. I'm putting a couple of parts here now because we are towards the end. There shouldn't be too much more coming out. Hopefully. Oh, why is it so hard to come out of here? There we go. just that tube. That tube moves around in there fairly easily. Oh, it's coming. There we go. There's the oil pump. I don't know what that plastic part was for. That little plastic part just sits in here. Like that. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Just sits there. There's no spring behind it. I don't know if that's a plunger in there. Yeah, it is. It's a plunger in there. You see that gear moves. Yeah, it just holds that gear in there so it doesn't come out. And there's this screw on the bottom I was talking about. And you can see it only allows you to turn it, is that 90 degrees? And then it has a stop here. I don't know. I don't know what that is for either, but there's nothing wrong with this gear. The only thing I can really do, I'll put a little bit of oil in here, spin this, see if it comes out the hole. Okay, a little bit of oil. This is the feed hole. You see it sitting on there. Sucking it in. I saw a bubble. There it comes. Oil's coming out. So the pump is working. And yeah, this metal gear looks to be in good shape. It might have a little tiny bit of wear on it, but there are no teeth folded over, broken off. That little chunk of plastic, I wonder, came off that gear and jammed this one up, and then I don't know. Like I said, I think if this gear was jammed up and wasn't moving, I would think this one would wear out all the way around. I mean, I don't know if you can see that. The thread on this gear is perfect on most of it all the way around, except for this one little spot. It's got a little chunk. I don't know. It's weird. Unless you can put it in here and you can see how this works. So this rides around with that clutch drum. Man, I don't know what you'd call that. Sprocket drive, clutch drive, whatever. The part that the clutches drive. So this rides around with that. And you can see that would slowly, or maybe not, turn that metal gear. Oh, I see what's going on. I smell what you're standing in now. Okay, what is going on? Is all these threads are perfect. It comes all the way around. And right when it gets to this spot, it jumps over the tooth on that metal gear and then rides in the same slot all the way back around and then jumps over like a record, skipping over the groove in a track. So even though this was turning and all these threads were perfect all the way around, when it got to this spot right here, it would jump the tooth on that metal gear and then ride the same track again all the way around. So even though these threads are perfect and this was driving, it was never turning that metal gear. Well, because that one little spot. The last gear, I remember that, it was tore up all the way around. It was very obvious what was wrong. I want to clean up this one little, this is a rubber boot in here. There's just a little rubber seal that the oil pump seals to the reservoir in there. I'm going to clean that up, make sure it has a good seal so it's not leaking and also not drawing air in there. I don't know if a pipe cleaner would work better in here. Just wrap the paper towel around the end of my pick. Just go around and pull it out. There isn't really nothing in there. Just want to be sure. It looks pretty clean in there. Okay. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Just want to make sure that there's no more little plastic pieces or anything in this metal gear. We don't want the same thing happening. So a little tiny chunk of something in here. What is that? It's like a little piece of wood or something in here. Or unless that's plastic as well. There's a roll pin right here for this screw that goes in there. And there's a couple of little chunks of things down in here. I want to get that out, so I'm going to pound this roll pin out. Should be fairly easy. Get this out of here, and then we can pull the pump right out and just clean everything up perfectly since we're in here. We don't want any little chunk of junk ruining the new gear. Little nut. I think it's going to come out. This looks bigger on this side. Let's clean that hole up and see. Yeah, that roll pin is bigger on this side than this side. There must be a slight taper to it. So put it down on this nut. And where the hell did my hammer go? Whammer! Roll pin out up on the side here. Now this screw that I have no idea what it does will come out, hopefully. Yeah. There we go. It's got a little cam on the end of it. O-ring seal. Double O-ring seal. A little pocket. Oh, that's where that pin goes. And the very end of it, I don't know if you can see that. That smaller little part right here, that small little circle, is actually off center to the center of this screw. So turning this screw actually turns that cam. Which is interesting. So that must... This gear should be able to come out now, hopefully. Carefully. Carefully. Right, there's the oil drive, the oil pump here. There's a spring on it. Flat. And then on the very end of this gear, you can see when I spin that around, that's got like a helix on it. Helix? Sure. So as this is spinning, it's going in and out and in and out, and that's what's pumping the oil. Is that in and out motion. That's pretty cool. Still don't know exactly why the screw has a 90-degree adjustment. I don't know if that increases oil flow to the bar and decreases it, depending like where that cam rides on that pin. The cam portion of the, or the helix, or helix? It's like a swash plate kind of. No, I don't know. So yeah, the oil flows in here out of the reservoir, comes up to where that oil pump gear rides on that cam, basically pumping. And you can see there's a little slot in here, so that must be when it goes out or in, it goes over this hole where the oil's coming in or where the oil's going out. I don't know which one is which. So it goes over, lets oil in, turns a little bit, and then pushes, closing up that area and pushing the oil up through the tube and through the bar. Comes back down to where this slot is cut out of there. Goes back down on its cam, on its helix. I hope I'm not calling that by the wrong term. Pulling more oil into this little tiny reservoir. Turns, closes off that port, and then pushes and lets the oil go up and out and repeat over and over again. Pretty cool little design. Okay, we're gonna change out the lens, and I'm gonna take off my jacket because it is getting hot in here. Look that dirt. So take this lens off. See, it's just a straight lens, macro lens. And you see, it has like a slight concave, or what's the opposite of concave? Convex to it. I mean, basically, it's a little magnifying glass. So this is the factory one. This is the macro. You see, it's 15 times. Let's put this on. Oh, look at that. Oh, now you can see stuff, maybe. Alright, I'm going to take the spring and washer off here before I lose it. Put that on the side. Okay, so you can see the two steps in this screw. The center one, like I said, is offset. This outer one is not. It is concentric with the rest of the screw. In this gear, you can see there's this outer, I keep calling it a helix. I don't know if that's right or not. It's like a cam. I don't know. But this outer ring, the big part, works like a swash plate. It goes in and out, in and out. And then there's that inner one, that little inner ring, and that sits flat. Like that's on the same plane all the time. That one does not change. So I think what's going on is this screw, you can see it rise on that bigger portion on the cam part, on the helix part, swash plate part, around and around, and that's what makes it go in and out, in and out. That's what makes it pump. If you turn this the 90 degrees, whichever way here, you can maybe then see it rides on that inner little one. So then it would not be pumping at all. It would just be riding on that little one. And this does not go in and out then. Essentially shutting off the oil pump. Well, maybe it would go in and out a little bit. So maybe it isn't an adjustment for how much oil is going through the bar. Huh. I bet you that says something in the owner's manual. I never actually knew that was down there. It's interesting. I'm going to pay attention now when I put this back together, which side is what. Which way turning it would have more oil and less oil. Very interesting. That's neat to see. Put this washer on there. And spring. A little dab of clean oil. And it's clean in there. It goes in the housing like this. Oh, there's a little chunk. See? There was that little chunk of plastic I was trying to get out of there. Which that was part of the issues as well. that just goes in. And you can see that spring is what keeps tension on that screw for doing the pumping. That plastic bit, this one that goes in the end, must be just to close off this end so no junk gets in there. So it doesn't do anything but just sit in there. There's no spring behind it, and I don't know. Well, it's just sitting there to keep the junk out. Alright, so this screw, I guess we can call it the adjustment screw now, since we see kind of what it does. It goes in the bottom. A little bit of oil as well. And that goes up in here. I'm going to push this gear back. So that screw can go in. There. There, like I said, it only has, you can see there's that tang right there, so you can only adjust it that much. Now you can see down in there that that. Okay. Yeah, you see how much that gear moves back and forth in there? So that's like full pump. Turning this screw this way, you can see it doesn't move nearly as much. So counterclockwise is less, clockwise is more. Interesting. I'm glad to know that. Like I said, that's probably in the owner's manual, and I never knew all these years. I'm just going to set it in the middle-ish. Like I said, we run this saw in the winter cutting ice. And I remember we were actually told by the serviceman that we used to have the saw serviced by that we could honestly probably get away with hardly any oil at all, because the water would be doing the lubricating and cooling. Now I'm skeptical about that. I mean, we always did run oil, and there's no reason not to. It just, I don't know. That's good. I'm glad I got that cleaned up and got that figured out, and see what stuff does. Let's get that other lens back on there so you can see stuff. Because I know, like out here, this is probably all fuzzy and out of focus right now. Take this guy off. And put this guy on. This stock lens is basically like a shield. It doesn't do a whole lot as far, I mean, it doesn't do anything really for zooming in or anything. It's just a flat piece of glass, like a shield for the camera, the eye, or whatever the hell it is. Okay. Anyhow. Get this back in here. A little oil on these O-rings. This one, there's oil coming up out of the reservoir, so that one's oiled well enough. Get this down in here. I'm working this one in this tube, trying to work it in. Get in there, it's your home. Are you too good for your home? I don't know what go. Now it's in there. And then push this one into that seal. That's for that reservoir seal. And, oh yeah, don't forget this little piece of plastic that sits in here on the back side. Just like that. Just, I don't know, just sits there and hangs out and flops around. Maybe it's not supposed to flop around, I don't know. Torque's back in. Not too tight. And click. On the back of these screws, you can see they're actually serrated or have like little teeth on them. So they actually bite into, especially the aluminum, lock themselves in place. This, with this bend, I don't think this bend is supposed to be in here. I am going to straighten this out a little bit. With my hands, apparently. No. That's a little bit more round. Not perfect, but it'll do. Get some of this junk off of here. You see there's a little pin through there that goes in that slot, and then there's a hole right there. That's where that Torx goes up through there and locks it in. This end has got a little slot that just goes in this fork here. Put it in sideways and turn it. And get this all down inside of here. There. Nice. Easy peasy. Make sure that's seated down in there good. Sorry if I'm blocking you guys from seeing. This Torx screw is the same as the two oil pump Torx screws. That just goes in that bottom there. Is it a screw or a bolt? At what point is it a bolt? Is it only when it has a hex on the head that it's a bolt? Or when you get to a certain size? Is it 1/4 inch and bigger as a bolt, and under that it's considered a screw? I don't know. Alright, what's next? The new oil pump gear. There isn't typically oil on here, but I'm going to put a little bit on there just to get it started. And just a little bit where that bushing will right on the shaft. And that should just go down in there. And, oh yeah, I can definitely tell it's different. You can tell it's driving that gear now. Before with that other one, the old one, when I spun it, there was a spot in there that I felt it click over. So yeah, definitely good. And next, like I said, we start backwards with what we took off, and that's clutches. Reverse thread. Torque wrench. We'll just go with one ugga-dugga. Because that should tighten itself, actually. Being a reverse thread of the red and tachyon inside of that gear. A little bit more. There we go. Just a dab will do ya. There we go. A little cleaner. It's pretty amazing at these saws for what they get put through, how well designed they are for putting up with the dirt and the horrible, horrible conditions that they're put in. I mean, this one has been used for wood. It's cut up its share of trees, but like I said, it bounces back and forth. It does trees, but most of its life, it's in water. This saw has been dropped in the water, completely submerged. The water is constantly pouring through this saw when you're cutting ice. Some of the worst conditions you can imagine, out in the cold constantly. It's had a rough life, but I keep up on the maintenance as best as I can, and that is the important part. You see that is grimy as, I'm gonna go clean this out. There we go. It's not perfect. You see some of these pockets still have junk in them, but overall clean enough. As AVE would say, good enough for the girls I go with. For in here, one of my go-tos is chain lube. Just a couple of shots on some of these moving parts up in here. Just to keep them from rusting and moving freely. Good. Let's see, this one was right here. This one is right here. And the fasteners. Screws, bolts, screws. This is just going into plastic, so snug is good. Don't want to get carried away. There. Grease. On this bearing. These are needle bearings. Can't imagine that. They should be dry. The only thing I see it being an issue are the grease or something running out onto these clutch surfaces. Hopefully not, I don't know. So then we'll line up this line with that oil pump gear again. Right there. Good. Put the chain drive on. Or is it a chain guide? I think this is a guide. A little bit of wear. This is another piece I replaced. I think at the same time when I did the clutches. And the outside keeper washer, and nope, not a nut. These E-clips, when you look at them closely or you feel, one side all the edges are a little bit rounded, and the other side you can feel have a sharp edge. I don't know if they get stamped out with a punch or how these are exactly made, but like I said, just like any other washer, it's got a round edge and a sharp edge. I like to install these where the sharp edge is facing out away from whatever's pushing on it. So in this case, everything is pushing out this way, so I'll put this sharp edge on the outside this way. My thoughts are the sharp edge have more of a bite to that groove in there than the round edge. The round edge, it's like when a flathead screw is rounded out and you're trying to drive it with a screwdriver. The screwdriver keeps wanting to pop out because the edges are like ramps and push the screwdriver out. Same thing with these E-clips, at least that I feel. If you're using the round edge towards the side that it's getting driven towards, that round edge could ramp out of the slot. I just feel better with the sharp edge on the outside. Okay, we can start it up now. Should be able to, and see if this is pumping some oil. See that? Didn't spill a drop. I think I ran this saw, when was it? Last week? And it was it was below zero. It was, I think when I was out cutting ice last week, it was 0 or just below 0 during the day. It was like 8 below 0 at night. Oh, it should start fairly easy. Oil's coming out. It's pumping again. Ooh, yeah. Right. You see, this is getting cut through. This is worn from the chain going by and slopping around on it over the years. Actually, that is almost ready to break off, but it's just the cover for that. Put this screw in. When you're adjusting chain tension, obviously you see there's a spec for how much this is supposed to snap back, but you have to pick up on the back of the saw and put the weight on the tip of the bar to lift this bar up, because there's always a little bit of slop in here, and that little bit of slop, I don't know if you can see that, nope, actually changes the chain tension slightly. So you pick up on the back of the saw, put the weight on the tip, and then adjust up the tension on the blade, or on the chain, a little bit more. Right there. It's just that it's holding it up against the bar. Bigger the bar, the less tension you want on this bar. I mean, from what I experienced. You get a long bar and you got a lot of tension on it, and it's hard on the saw. Just that it's snapping. That's good. There we go. Ready for work. Thanks for watching.